Welcome back, everyone. So I'm going to do a little color correction on Jazzy's hair today. As you can see from the before picture, she has a lot of brass hanging on in the end. So my goal was to pretty much eliminate all of that brassy color and then give her some beautiful highlights everywhere to really blend everything. So if you want to see that technique, keep watching. So I'm beginning by framing her face out with highlights, but I am painting them directly on the root because in our consultation, that's what she wanted to see. So I'm taking fine weave highlights all around her face with 30 volume and the pH Bond Builder by Redken. And once you finish that, I'm going to begin my full highlight by starting on the sides of her head. And I'm doing really thick weaves because I want to have that dramatic look underneath, so she has a lot of dimension. But then I'll explain this once we get to it. On the top of her head, I take really fine weave highlights, so it's more of a natural blend from the top, and then you have all that dimension underneath by doing those thick highlights. So instead of doing your highlights in a horizontal pattern, I'm doing them vertically because it gives it a little bit more of a dramatic look. But usually I do take horizontal sections up the head, and that gives more of a softer look. So depending on whatever your client wants, that's what I would do. But I did take these vertically because I really wanted to see a lot of dimension underneath her hair. And as you can see right there, I am taking very thick, dramatic pieces, and I'm making sure that they are woven in almost a chunky, for lack of a better word, pattern. But what you're gonna get is that dimension in between and have a really bold look underneath. And as you can see, I'm leaving the ends out of every one of these foils because they are so light and over processed that I don't want to put them in the foil until after we're done this full highlight, and I can watch them really closely so that we have no breakage and no damage, and we have nothing but beautiful, healthy hair. So this is a better shot and angle of the pattern I'm doing on her side, so you can see the vertical sections with the chunky weave. And I'm going to continue that all the way up the side, and then we're going to move to the back and do the same pattern. So I learned this foiling technique at a class I took in New York, and you start at the bottom corners of the hair and then you move all the way up on both sides and then follow that pattern until you get to the top, and it's really such a beautiful highlight pattern. I highly recommend it if you just need some go-to full highlight pattern. This is what I do pretty much 99% of the time. So I'm just taking those thick weaves again, starting at the bottom corner and working my way up. And as you get up there, you're going to see a triangle pattern kind of left out, and that's where you can start the top portion of your highlight. there's that little triangle section I was talking about, just right in the center of her head, and then I just keep moving up into the center, and then I go from side to side, and that's how I finish my partial highlight on the top. So at this point, you're probably going to have to mix a little bit more lightener, so I would bump it to 40 volume and then add the pH bond builder in there. That way the front of her hair won't take so long compared to the back. That's probably already done processing. And I'm also checking her face framing pieces because you do not want them to become over processed and damaged, because that is literally the worst thing that could possibly happen in the front of someone's face. So my rule of thumb is whenever I finish the back, check those face frame pieces, because you really need to watch them because they are so fragile. So when I continue my partial highlight on the top, instead of doing such thick, heavy pieces, I'm going to do much finer, much closer together highlights, because I want them to look more natural and blended compared to the more chunky, piecey weave underneath. And this is just going to give her that really pretty blended look on the top, and then all that dimension underneath. And really make sure whenever you're doing highlights, you fully saturate, because you don't want any spotting, and that's like the worst thing ever when you pull out a foil and you see all of these spots and you have to go back and refoil and highlight it. So really make sure you're doing really strong brush strokes and making sure that everything is completely distributed so you get the best result you possibly can. So now phase 2 of this color process, I'm going to start taking her ends and adding 40 volume with pH bond builder, and I'm going to tease the portion of the top that I don't really need to lighten anymore. I'm mostly trying to focus on the ends and pretty much where I see a lot of the brass. So I would just target those areas and really pay attention to those really lightened pieces that someone might have, because you don't want to cover those with more lightener unless you have to. So I'm taking big sections of just slices, teasing a little bit, and then totally saturating the ends where I see most of that brass. And what we're trying to do is kick out that color really quickly. I only leave these on for about 15 minutes, but it makes such a difference as far as kicking out that brassy color and getting that beautiful blonde that you want. As you can see with these sections, I'm totally saturating the ends, but I'm also bringing it up into a little bit of a V pattern, and since we did tease it, it's going to blend really nicely, so don't be afraid to kind of take that lightener and inch it up a little bit towards the rest of those highlights, but really saturate the ends so that that brassy color gets kicked out. Now I'm moving on to phase 3 of this color correction, and I'm going to do a color melt on her hair. So I'm trying to remove as much brass as I can, so I'm using really cool tones, and Shades EQ is one of my favorite demi-permanent color brands. If you guys have never tried them, I would absolutely give them a shot. They make the most beautiful blend, and they are some of the best toners I've ever used, so I highly recommend them. But I'm going to take the first toner and blend from her root to mid shaft, but I'm going to leave out the front of her hair. And then the rest of her hair, which are the really light blonde pieces, I'm going to tone them with 9B, so it's a really icy, beautiful blonde. And I'm pretty much going to saturate all of those light pieces with that color, including the face frame in the front. So I'm going to take a comb and lightly brush through everything just so I know everything is perfectly saturated. And then we're going to let it sit for about 15 to 20 minutes and rinse and blow dry and then style. And you guys are going to see what this looks like in a second. And I'm using my favorite blow dryer of all time, my Elcom, and if you guys have watched my other tutorials, this is my go-to blow dryer if you need one that is super powerful and gets super hot and will literally smooth any hair it touches. Highly recommend this blow dryer, so I'll link that below for you guys. So I'm going to blow her out from wet to dry just to get the ultimate smoothness I possibly can. And then I'm going to go back in with my T3 curling iron and give her some nice pretty beach waves to complement this color look. And if you guys would like to see a more in-depth styling tutorial for these beach waves, please leave me comments below. I would love to make you a step-by-step version of these beach waves. So give me a shout, let me know if that's what you guys would like to see. So from this angle you can really see the color melt and how the roots are a little bit deeper than the ends with the poppy pieces, and you can also see how the front of her face frame was left out just to make sure that lightness is around her face. So this is probably one of my favorite techniques to do on people, and I don't think color melts are going anywhere, so I highly recommend you guys do this if your client's like, well, I don't want to see highlights coming out from the root, but I still want lightness up there. This pretty much solves that problem, and it's my go-to coloring style I do on pretty much 80% of my clients. Okay, so now I'm going to take Windblown by Redken. It's basically a dry shampoo and a texturizing spray in one, and it smells really, really good. And I'm going to spray that in her hair and lightly piece out those curls just to give it a more relaxed feel and shape it to her face. And this is the completed look, guys. I hope you love it. I think the blend is perfect, and the ends have no more brass, which is exactly what I wanted. It's really poppy around the face, and she's really going to grow into this for months to come, and it's still going to look gorgeous. So thank you guys for watching. Follow at Be The Pavilion and Jazzy H. Wang to see all their amazing adventures in California. They take some of the most beautiful photos I have ever seen. And as always, thank you for watching. Please let me know below what you guys would like to see, and I will see you next Saturday for my next tutorial. Thanks guys, bye!